Today we are talking Troy Denning's newest book, Halo Shadows of Reach. Going to be discussing some major plot spoilers, as well as my very own unique Halo Infinite theories based off the book. Theories you probably haven't heard anywhere else, so please sit back and enjoy this Club XP experience. Let's do it! Welcome everybody to another very exciting episode of the Club XP podcast. Today, you have the great pleasure and privilege and treat to have me, Josh, as your host. Today, I'm flying solo, doing a short little book review of a book I recently read called Halo Shadows of Reach. Now, if you're into the Halo universe and you haven't read this book, heavy spoilers ahead. I will be talking in depth about the book, the contents, what happened, my theories based on the book, leading into Halo Infinite, and many more things. So, by all means, consider yourself warned. If you don't want to listen, then pause, finish the book, and then come on back. Alright, so that's it. That is the spoiler warning. So, I wanted to get into this and talk a little bit about, the book, and where I think the book, how it leads us into Halo Infinite. There's actually been a lot of good YouTube videos and reviews on it, but they never touched on a couple of things that I wanted to mention. So I'm actually kind of surprised that some of the bigger names in the Halo community haven't touched on some of this. So hopefully some of it's new and could be kind of a treat. So first off, if you remember, there was a Halo Waypoint that came out not too long ago, where Troy Denning was actually mentioning, I believe it was Troy Denning, the author of the book, about how we shouldn't read too much into Halo Shadows of Reach, the book, in order to anticipate what was going to happen as far as like storyline was concerned for Halo Infinite. And I thought that was really interesting because originally Halo Infinite was set to like release already. It was supposed to release probably like this week with the Xbox Series X release. So if you think about it, Shadows of Reach was only supposed to be out for like just a couple weeks before Halo Infinite. And so they probably weren't originally planning on I just hit something. They probably weren't planning on Shadows of Reach coming out and being like a big spoiler or leadway into Halo Infinite. It was probably just supposed to be some like type of fan service that was supposed to kind of set the stage for Halo Infinite. Now, if you remember, 20 years ago, the book Halo Fall of Reach actually came out and was released a couple weeks or a month prior to Halo Combat Evolved coming out. And so I figured Halo Shadows of Reach was going to be kind of that same feel, just a primer for people who wanted to have a leg up going into Halo Infinite, but it's not something that was going to be required reading. Like if you were like me, you jumped into Halo Combat Evolved, you landed on the ring, it was brand new to you, you weren't really sure what the Spartan program was, you didn't really know much about the lore or the universe. Not that there was much to go off back then, but Fall of Reach was out, the book. But I didn't read it before playing the game. And I think it's a lot like this. I don't think you need to read this book in order to get into Halo Infinite. But it definitely will help. So with that kind of backstory, there was a couple of things that I thought was interesting that happened throughout the book. So keep in mind, as I'm reading the book, in my mind, I'm telling myself, okay, they told me not to read too much into this for story detail, as far as what Halo Infinite will give us lore-wise, and as far as like the story is concerned. And so that's kind of where my mind was. And I think there may have only been like one big plot point that I think we're going to obviously get, that this was kind of a precursor to. to go into Halo Infinite, and I think that's what Blue Team was going after inside Halsey's lab. I think that obviously will play into Halo Infinite, and even at the end of the book, we never were really revealed exactly what it was. Although if you've read Halsey's journal entries, or that they were released a while ago, if you've gotten into that, you probably might have some sort of idea about what it was that Blue Team recovered. Most likely, probably another type of Cortana AI, because we know Cortana was built off of like the neural replication of Dr. Halsey, and she's kind of the first of her kind, that type of smart AI. So there might be some other prototypes out there that they could use to help maybe cure Cortana's rampancy, or it's already been cured because she's kind of in the domain, but you get my drift. That may be something that could offset. And it actually goes kind of, and because they did retrieve something in Halsey's lab, it reminds me of that one clip that we got. I believe it was from the QR code. It was the audio of Cortana talking. And here, I'll plug it in right now so you can listen. Okay, so what we just heard was, this strange, like, ethereal Cortana saying, "Well, what is this? This is me." I don't know. I kind of wonder if that has anything to do with what they retrieved in Castle Base, or Halsey's lab. To me, it would just make sense that they would use some type of Cortana thing to some prototype to go after the Cortana in Halo Infinite. And so, with that being said, too, now that I'm thinking about it, if you remember in the book as well, there was a moment where Halsey was talking to Spartan Palmer and Lasky on the deck of the ship Infinity. Basically, Halsey was talking like, "Hey, if you guys knew exactly," or especially to Palmer, she was like, "If you knew exactly what I was going after right now, you'd arrest me." And even Lasky only knew basically what he needed to know in order for him to bless off on the mission. But I definitely think, because we know how Palmer is, she's like the straightest of arrows. She is military regulation through and through, mission first type of Spartan. So if she knew that Blue Team was down there grabbing another Cortana, I think Halsey's statement was very accurate, that if you knew what I was doing, you'd arrest me and you have me tried right here. Palmer is that type of person, because she doesn't really understand Cortana or the backstory, everything she's done. So I think that was very interesting. But moving on to kind of where I think this book is going to take us, I feel like since we were told, like I've already said multiple times, not to read too much into it to understand the story of Infinite. What I do feel like, though, and I've read a couple of Troy Denning's books, there were some things in this book that felt, I don't want to say forced, but just added into, that didn't feel natural. Now, bear with me, this is a good thing. I felt like Denning was trying to describe things that 343 Industries was telling him to describe in the book. And not that it felt out of place, but it just felt like these were purposeful injections. I think that's a better way to describe it, that 343 asked Troy Denning to put into the book, as kind of like different things that we'll be able to do in Halo Infinite. And they were kind of explored in Halo Shadows of Reach. And some of that stuff, like, there were, let's see, I'm looking here at my notes. So one thing that I found really interesting was that Infinity, the ship, was actually kind of orbiting Reach throughout the book. And it was able to send in reinforcements, drop pods and ODSTs and Spartans. And I thought, well, that's kind of interesting to think that what if in Halo Infinite we get something, kind of similar to that, where, here we are on Zeta Halo, and then, but the Infinity is up in space the whole time, and its kind of role is to, we call in air support, we call in reinforcements, depending on like the large scale. Maybe there's going to be large scale battles, open world battles. If you kind of read into Shadows of Reach, to me the way Troy Denning was describing the battlefield, it all seemed very open and maneuverable. But it was always kind of like great foes that they were facing. Not very ratioed very well for the humans. And so I thought that would be kind of interesting, if the Infinity or some other type of ship was up there, that we could call in for support. I think that'd be pretty fun. Because if you remember, back in the July reveal that they did for Halo Infinite, and we got the gameplay reveal, there was like a tiny couple of seconds where Master Chief opens up his HUD, and you get to see his map HUD, and we get to see all these different like Firebase this or that, and then we get to see kind of like where the enemy bases are, where the friendly bases are, and to me that makes me feel like if this is going to be an open world game, that we're going to be able to actually like achieve objectives. Hey, like this is going to be our Firebase, this is where we're going to be located at this part of the ring. Now the whole like Shadows of Reach book was based off of, well, not the whole thing, but a large chunk of it was based off of Blue Team assisting the Pioneers in being able to take over like a certain banished stronghold. And I thought that was very interesting that they decided to make that one of the main plot points, is that you were taking over a banished stronghold. Now just bear with me, how awesome would that be in Halo Infinite if we were able to seize territory? Like, hey, this is our part of the ring, and we get to seize banished bases and claim them as our own, use their weapons caches that they have in their bases, and if Master Chief leaves for a little while, whatever base we secured, and we leave like a small contingency of Marines there, then what if, as we leave and we go do other missions, we get reports, hey, we're being attacked at the base. And then we go back and maybe the Banished took it, and then we can take the base back over. And kind of that way the campaign doesn't necessarily end. The campaign is infinite, if you would. That you're always trying to, seize as much territory as possible and maybe fortify your bases. Like I said, with the Infinity being, orbiting the ring, maybe they call in reinforcements. That's kind of one thing I thought would be really, really cool for Infinite. And I felt like it was kind of teased, to be honest, in Halo Shadows of Reach. I felt like that was the purpose of like the story, because they told us don't read too much into the plot, and we just got like basically the only plot insight, like I said earlier, that we got was, hey, we're going to go retrieve something from Halsey's lab, and we still don't really even know what that was, because they're going to wait to reveal that during Halo Infinite gameplay. But yeah, the seizing of the Banished base, that felt like, a tease of something that we'll be able to do, and I think that'd be really awesome. And then there was another thing. Master Chief was watching out over the horizon as they're seizing the Banished base, and he said something that I thought was interesting. Now I might be reading like way too much into this, but keep in mind, I'm reading this book with the mindset of, hey, I know this isn't really tying into the story completely to Halo Infinite, and it's just describing what Infinite will be like. But anyway, there was a part where Chief says, it looks like a hot drop to me. He was talking about what he could see over the horizon with the drop pods coming down. It looks like a hot drop to me, probably 40 or 50 Pelicans escorted by 5 squadrons of broadswords. Now, what is a phrase that is very, very common and widespread in the gaming community when we use the phrase looks like a hot drop? That is obviously Battle Royale. We all know what it means when you do a hot drop. You drop in where everybody else is dropping, where all, where the big building is, or where the big cache of weapons are. And so when Chief says, hey, looks like a hot drop to me, and there's like drop pods coming being escorted by pelicans is what it says there. To me, I'm thinking like that if there is going to be some type of battle royale mode in Halo Infinite, that's what it's going to be like. So I thought that would be pretty interesting, because, I mean, whether you want a battle royale mode in Halo Infinite or not, I personally believe Halo is the perfect game to do a battle royale for. Mind you, I've been playing Halo since its inception in 2001. I've been playing it, for the past 20 years. I've been along the journey. I know the fan base, your hardcore old school fan base, is not very excited about a battle royale. But I am, and I think Halo is primed perfectly for it, because the shield and armor system is already part of the game. Like you wouldn't have to be going around trying to find armor and make an armor system make sense, because it's just already part of the game. Hot drops are already part of the game, like when we dropped in on Delta Halo, or in Halo 3 ODST as we're dropping in as ODSTs. Like we've experienced that in the Halo universe before, dropping in from high altitudes, going into different areas of the map. So that it's already pre-built into the game. And so when I read that part with Chief saying, hey, it looks like a hot drop, to me that was just another like trigger, like, hey, maybe this is a hint of what it will be like. Maybe we'll drop in from pelicans, maybe we'll drop in from the Infinity for drop pods. So who knows what exactly that will be like. But that kind of just thinking of like pelicans and drop pods, so that made me start thinking about the pilots. In the book, there were two main pilots.
This isn't happening. I'm going to have to make an emergency landing. Hold on, Chief.
And anyway, I kept thinking that hot shot lieutenant. I was like, oh man, I wonder if one of these two pilots is actually going to end up being Brohammer. Eventually, we'll start the game and we'll go like, oh hey, it's Van Hoot or whatever from the game. I was thinking the lieutenant would be it for a while, but then we obviously know what his fate was. He ended up dying.
Are you even listening?
Getting Chief the blue team over towards their objective. Back at Halsey's lab. So it obviously isn't going to be him, but it could have been that Van Hoot fella. But then I was thinking, no, probably not, because I remember reading somewhere in the past that the character or the actual voice actor that plays Brohammer, I guess, was given the opportunity. Supposedly, this is the rumor, or maybe not a rumor, maybe confirmed. But they said that he was actually able to
get away from
name his character, and he said he named it after two of his childhood best friends. So to me, Van Hoot doesn't really sound like the name of two childhood best friends. Excuse me, but then again, Van Hoot is two different names, as a last name.
Okay, big guy.
So maybe he did know somebody, Van something or Hoot, and he just put it together as Van Hoot. But anyway, I thought that'd be pretty cool. That would be a cool introduction to the pilot. It would add kind of a little bit more meaning that they've actually done operations together. But I really doubt that was the case. I was just thinking throughout the book that would be cool if one of those two pilots actually was a character that we would be able to know in Halo Infinite. There was some rain scenes as well in Shadows of Reach. Maybe that's another indicator. I know we have dynamic lighting on Halo Infinite. Actually, not too long ago, like literally 10 or 15 minutes before doing this podcast, I was actually playing Assault in the Control Room on Halo Combat Evolved. And there's that line, when you go out on the bridge and Cortana's like, weather malfunctioning, or do they turn snow on intentionally? And I thought that was kind of interesting, thinking about Halo Infinite. Since we got rain and different things in Shadows of Reach, I was wondering like, well, I wonder if we're going to have dynamic weather as well. Where a storm can come through, it completely changes the way you go in to seize an objective, or the way you do something, because obviously if we have dynamic lighting, which was confirmed back in July, we could attack an enemy stronghold at night, and that completely changes things. And maybe it'll be the same thing for weather. Maybe we'll get rain or snow at different points of the year. And I don't know if that would be like our year match us. So like, hey, it's winter time, it's Christmas time, Halo Infinite. You start to see snow everywhere on Zeta Halo. I think that'd be really cool. You see that a lot in games like Battle Royale games that are seasonal. During the winter time. They do updates on the game. I think that'd be really fun. And then there was another thing too that I thought was pretty interesting that Blue Team did. They actually called in air support using infrared weapons that they could target the actual objective with, and we've done that before in past Halo games, so I don't see why that would be a stretch for them to do it in Halo Infinite. I mean, they were doing it in Shadows of Reach, so I thought that would be kind of cool if that could be more, because it's been more rare than anything. But I feel like that's such a small gadget for a Spartan to have. I feel like that should always be on their person that they can call in air support and target actual positions and have their drop some bombs. I thought that would be pretty awesome. That seems to be it as far as my theories are concerned. Like I said, I didn't want to get too much into what I thought the actual plot of Halo was going to be, but more what I thought Troy did in Shadows of Reach to kind of give us a primer for what would come in Halo Infinite as far as gameplay and the way things would play out. I just to close out, I enjoyed this book thoroughly. I read through it as quick as I could. I'm busy. That's kind of why this review is a couple weeks late. I really liked this book. I've been doing audiobooks a lot lately, just in general, not just for Halo books, but for this one I didn't want to do an audio. I wanted to read the entire thing to make sure I captured everything that I wanted to capture. But it was really great. I've read a lot of Halo Universe books. This is by far the best one out of the Master Chief series, by far. But that doesn't mean the other ones aren't great, because I enjoyed this entire series. If you haven't read the other two, Oblivion and what was it, Silent Storm, I'll pop my hands down. Please go check those out. They're fantastic. Troy Daniels is an excellent Halo author. He does a lot to add the science of the game to make it more realistic. Like, I know in previous books he mentioned stuff that I had never ever even considered with the Covenant. Like, one of the main objectives of Chief was to destroy a staging area for the Covenant, because that's how they were transporting the equipment and material they needed to create plasma for their weapons, and that's something I've never even thought of before. And even in Shadows of Reach, they're talking about somebody standing next to a grav lift, and felt this uneasy queasiness in their stomach. I think it was one of the British characters, because he was standing too close to it. He could start to kind of feel his insides and get kind of nervous, because he's next to a grav lift and it moves things up. You can feel that in his stomach. It was just interesting, just little details like that. But I'm definitely giving this a 10 out of 10. Please go read if you haven't. I've actually started reading the other Troy Daniels books that I haven't read. I guess 3 or 4 years older than the Master Chief series. I haven't been as avid of a Halo book reader as I would like to be. But this series, I hope this was, to anybody listening that maybe didn't spread this out with Halo communities about it. Please comment. And if you
set a fire in your heart, Spartan.
Podcast that we do.
Bare your fangs.
This is just kind of
fight hard.
Something different.
Die well.
But yeah, just leave a comment. Let me know what you think. But until next time, go play some Halo Master Chief Collection, some Halo 5, whatever it might be. I'm actually running through all the games right now, in order again, just for fun, and it's been quite the experience. I really enjoy it. So yeah, if you have any questions, comments, please let us know. Please follow us at Club XP Podcast on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, and on Twitter. Please hit us up. Let us know what you think about what we think, and especially Halo Shadows of Reach. I am a huge Halo fan, so please let me know. I would much appreciate the feedback. Until next time, I'll talk to you later.